Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and we are back at it again with another Hearthstone video. This one we're going over the best decks you can play in February. I know we just got a balance change or a balance update, which was pretty massive. We had a single card in standard changed that no one has played. Not a single player I have seen played, or have thought about playing this card. So I'm glad it got buffed. It's mixed up the meta 0%. And the mini set, we're still waiting for that to come out. Mini set should arrive very, very soon, but we'll see what happens. Still waiting on that. It's about 2.5 weeks late on the mini set. However, taking a look at the best decks, we have a lot of Demon Hunter at the top, some Death Knight or a Paladin, following up with some more Paladin, some Druid weaved in there, Hunter, more Demon Hunter, and then we have the Protoss Mage and Priest bringing up the rear. This is Legend on all regions. If we look at top 1,000, it really doesn't change that much. And if we go Diamond through Legend, we have a lot more Demon Hunter, just more aggro in particular. So we'll go into each and every deck and why it's good, what's going on with it, and maybe if it's something you'd want to play or stay away from. So first deck we're actually going to take a look at is Discover Hunter. In my opinion, this is actually the best deck, or one of like the top 3 decks in the game right now. However, the deck is very, very, I wouldn't say hard to play, but it is much harder than, let's say, like Aura Paladin or Cliffside Demon Hunter or like Aggro Paladin or like any sort of other just go face deck. This deck's going to be a lot more challenging because the number of options per turn you have. Some core cards in here is replace your hero power with tracking. This is one of the cards that makes the deck fairly difficult because every turn you're going to be tracking a card out of your deck, and picking the best one or lining up for your big combo turns is really important. You have your Scout, which is after you discover a card, get a copy of it. This is your super synergy card in the deck that's going to work well with your Tide Pool, Pupil, basically your Mixologist. Everything you have in the deck is pretty much going to discover with like Grifta, Nightmare Lord. And then from there, you can use like Tide Pool, get double copies of it. While this can be a tempo deck and you're just getting a ton of stats on the board early, this is also a combo deck where you could just kill somebody from 30, no problem, with a mixture of like Scout, Tide Pool, and the Neri, which is whenever you play a 1-cost minion, double its stats. Then whenever you play a 1-cost spell, cast it twice. So again, synergizing really well with the Mixologist and the Grifta there to pop off some absolutely insane turns. So yeah, Discover Hunter, in my opinion, is just one of those decks that's just like, if you know how to play it, you're going to have easy Legend every single time, and I don't see how this deck hasn't gotten changed yet. It is so incredibly powerful, especially with its ability to have the Sisters in here, and this one that deal 2 damage to all enemies, including their face and battlefield, and then they Brewmaster this back, and they just have like a constant 3 mana, deal 6 to your opponent, the battlefield, and their face, on top of like Incendious. It's just absolutely absurd what Discover Hunter can do. We got a word from our sponsor. He's losing his mind at the moment. Would you like to remind our viewers that in order for Duders to get good Christmas with his girlfriend, we should sub, like, and comment on every video. Make sure we watch them all. Even if you don't want to, you put it on mute or low volume. Keep it rolling. Keep that time engagement high. Duders is happy. I know he looks like a stuffed animal. I promise he's real. Hi, buddy. Oh, look at the leg go up immediately. What a good boy. Moving down to Midrange Shaman. This, again, probably one of the easiest decks to play. This is the most curve stone thing you can do in Hearthstone right now. You play the 1 mana card on 1, the 2 mana card on 2, the 3 mana card on 3. And you go all the way. You play Hagatha, then you're going to play Shudder, and then you're going to double the battle cries off Hagatha. If not, you're just going to buff your deck, try to make any semblance of board, and then just hit him in the face. You've got stuff like Alakir, which benefits from the Wish Upon the Star. You've got Fowls, which can go over minions. You have an inevitable, infinitely scaling weapon. You've got just so much power in this deck in the mid to late game. It's early game, if you don't hit like Bumbling Bellhop or Parrot Sanctuary, can be a bit slow, but it definitely picks up around turn 4. Yeah, Midrange Shaman, if you're a brand new player to the game, Midrange Shaman is a very easy, very powerful deck for you to climb. If you're a beginner to new player, I would kind of stay away from the Discover Hunter, but for those of you who've been playing a while, Discover Hunter shouldn't be that hard anyway. So we have the Corpse Death Knight, which has been popping up on ladder and getting played a lot. This right here is the main version that is on the HS replay, which is I use for a lot of my my stats. If you want to link there, it'll be in the description below. I have a juicy affiliate link with them. So if you like the deck tracker that I have like there on the side and all the stats and just to see the meta, like a nice overview, the links, you know, of course, in the description. This is the one, like I said, that a lot of people are playing and has the most stats on. However, I myself like the triple unholy Corpse Death Knight. This is what took me from, I believe, Diamond 5 to Diamond 2 in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It is a spicy deck. Not a lot of people are playing it, and it takes a lot of people off guard. It has a lot of the same cards in here, as you can see in the more popular list, like the Stitch Giants. It has the Kerrigan, the Remnants. It's got the Shadow of Yesterday, which is actually a surprisingly really good card. This is a 6 mana rewind. Summon 4 3/2 shades. They each gain 2 random bonus effects. So we're talking Poisonous, Lifesteal, Reborn, Wind Fury, Taunt. These things, because it summons so many and they can hit Reborn, it gives you a pretty sticky board. And if it's really bad, you can just go ahead and rewind it. This is going to play out very similar to your Midrange Shaman, where you just play a minion every turn and you just build up a bigger and bigger board, and then you just kind of got your opponent out. It just has big tempo every turn, and we're in a meta right now where if you can just play the most powerful turn you can each and every turn, most of the time you're just going to outscale your opponent and take them out, where people are doing a lot of damage very, very fast in this meta. Taking a look at the Dragon Warrior, this is again a very hyper aggro, to the face, get on the board early deck. Some of the key cards in here is going to be this Stone Carver. This is just insane in the early game. You go like 1 mana Whelp, or you go the Depths, and then you play Stone Carver, and then you damage your Stone Carver. It says at the end of your turn, give a random friendly damage minion +2/+2. This includes itself. So if you just damage this, on turn 2, you're rocking a, what is this, a 3/6, and then if they don't kill it, it goes to a 5/8. So it's just a really big deal, a lot of stats, and this deck goes on the board early. This deck also runs the Stadium Announcer, which is very, very powerful. I looked at this as more of like under a control view of like, yeah, I don't want to give my opponent a weapon. Like, who cares if I give my weapon +1/+1? But if you're constantly getting like a 4/3 weapon, which is essentially 12 damage, right? And you're giving your opponent like a 2/2 or like a 3/2. There's quite a big difference there, because they're using it to trade and you're using yours to go face, and you're just going to beat them every time with damage. Of course, we run the new 4 mana 6/9 elusive dragon, cost 3 less if you're holding another dragon, not if you've played another dragon, which is big. This is a very good card right now, and why a lot of people are running Blob of Tar, because this comes down on turn 4. Blob of Tar also comes down on turn 4, and Blob of Tar kind of counters this. So that's why we're seeing a lot of Blob of Tar in this meta. This list runs Growmash, which is surprising. It runs the Dorax, and then the Worm, which is a 5 mana 6/6, deal 5 and gain 5 armor. This is absolutely insane. So this deck, very quick. If you like Dragon Warrior, old like Black Rock Warrior, where you played like the dragon synergy stuff and the 5 mana 5/4, if you're holding a dragon, deal 3, and that was like a powerful card at the time. I think it was called like Blackwing Corruptor or something. Yeah, this deck's like that, but on steroids. We have Aura Paladin. This is again probably one of the smoothest decks you can play. You just play the card for the mana cost each and every turn. You have the Treasure Gill, which casts a random spell from your deck that costs 2 or less, targets this if possible. The only 2 or less spell in this deck is the Acceleration Aura, which means you get this out of your deck for free, and at the start of your turn you get a temporary mana crystal, which allows you to ramp very, very quickly into your Geblin. If Geblin comes down, it puts 1 of each aura from your deck into the battlefield. Of course, you run the aura extending cards. You run Crusader aura. You run the Chronological aura. You run even 1 of the Crafter's aura, which is surprising. And then you also have a spicy Puppet Master Doran with the Maul, because if you have the Maul out and then you Doran and you attack, you're going to hit your Ziliax or Geblin, and then being able to make a 1/1 Geblin and play him on turn 6 is pretty insane. So this deck cheeses out hard. It even runs Elise in there, which is why there's a 0 mana Wisp. We got a couple questions like why a lot of these decks have a Wisp in there. You have to, for Elise, have, if your deck started with 10 cards of different costs, craft custom locations. So you need 0 mana 1 all the way to 9. Generally, you can get around a 10 if you play Ceaseless, but this deck does not need Ceaseless. There's also a few versions of this deck that run like Cube and like the 4 mana Divine Shield tank guy. So there's quite a few different builds of the Aura Paladin. The point is you have the auras, you have the Geblin, and you have the Acceleration Aura to get you to Geblin faster, especially if you have coins. So yeah, Paladin always just doing Paladin things, which is always very basic shit. Whether it's buff Paladin, aggro Paladin, aura Paladin. When will we get a fun Paladin deck? I think the closest thing we ever had in the recent meta was Reborn Paladin, because I remember I'd make my little mummy guys, and then we would have like the big mech mummy. It was the Dino Dog. I remember the big mech egg. That was I think that, when thinking back, was the most recent fun Paladin deck, was the Dino Dog mech Reborn Paladin, where you change your hero power to the Reborn. I mean, obviously it would be terrible in this meta, but in general, it was fun at the time. I had a good time with it. All right, moving down to Demon Hunter. A lot of Demon Hunter decks you can play right now, guys. Demon Hunter stonks are on the rise. So with that being said, this is one of the many Demon Hunters that you can play. In my opinion, this is probably one of the stronger ones. There's also merit for an all-spell Demon Hunter if you've seen that floating around. But we're going to take a look at this one because this is what most people are playing, and it runs Blob of Tar, and that's really good in this meta, given what is being played in this meta. So the core of this deck is the, obviously, Blob of Tars with the Ravenous Fell Hunters, which gives you more Blob of Tars. You have the return policy. Again, more Ravenous Fell Hunters, more Blob of Tar. Blob of Tar leaves behind little minions. Little minions are really good with our boy Alfredo because he draws a minion, transform other friendly minions into copies of it. So you can get a bunch of Inquisitors, a bunch of Magtheridons, a bunch of Ziliacs, a bunch of Fell Hunters, a bunch of more Blob of Tars. There's just a lot of options with this deck to just be annoying and do a shit ton of damage to your opponent. And that doesn't even include the Cliff Dive, which pulls Inquisitors, Mags, and Ziliacs from your deck. And it doesn't even include the Climbing Hook, which doesn't lose durability as long as you control a minion with 5 or more attack, which is pretty easy because a lot of the minions in this deck have 5 or more attack. Besides that, you even run the Bro in the deck, which, again, really good with the portals. The portals are actually a good hedge against other people running this deck because the Ravenous Fell Hunter has a chance to summon one of the portals for you, giving you more capabilities of having more Broxes. So if you find yourself playing against a lot of Demon Hunter, playing this card against other Demon Hunters is very, very powerful because it messes up their Death Rattle pool. And that pretty much goes over all of the best decks. The next couple just I'm going to mention, but I don't particularly like. We have Protoss Mage, which a ton of people still play, but the stats on Protoss Mage are actually quite terrible. I'm just going to pull this up one last time. Yeah, unless you really, really, really enjoy the Protoss Mage, it is on here at the top of tier C, but I still see a ton of it. And then Protoss Priest is right above that at bottom of tier B. But if you actually look at who's playing like top 1,000, I'm pretty sure all of these are actually at the very bottom. Yeah, we have Protoss Mage at bottom of D, and then we have the Protoss Priest not even on the list. So as you go down in ranks, more people play the Protoss decks, but as you get the better players at the better ranks are not playing the Protoss decks. So unless you really like those, I recommend trying something else and see if that could help you guys out. Because I see a lot of people struggling in this meta, and I think it's because they're just running decks that people have learned to play against or hedging against. I mean, there's so much Dirty Rat, there's so much other stuff happening that I think it's about time we move away from Protoss Mage and Protoss Priest, which seems to be absolutely diabolically popular at like Diamond 10 through Diamond 1. But if you do love those decks, of course, play what you love. But if you're looking to explore something else, there is actually a ton of very, very powerful decks right now, with a few just being over the edge, which we've talked about. Discover Hunter a little bit over the edge, Midrange Shaman a little bit over the edge, or a Paladin a little bit over the edge. All right, so with that, thanks you guys for watching. If I happen to miss anything, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And hopefully this next mini set, when it comes out, any day now, the mini set's going to come out. This should be good. And then we have an expansion right after that and a core set rotation coming up, which I'll probably make a video on, going over all of the sets leaving and the most popular cards and how it affects those decks and all that good stuff, because it'll be big. Hearthstone should theoretically be at a very, very good point in just a month and a half, 2 months away-ish, which is what I'm really holding off for, is we really have to hope the beginning of this year goes, we see some big changes to this, because if not, we're in for a rough rest of the year. But I think it'll be all right, right? Of course, this next, babe, you gotta believe me, this next expansion's gonna fix everything. All right, with that, Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.
How do I know when my spicy off-meta deck is cooking or it's straight garbage? Hearthstone Deck Tracker gives me all the data I need to be able to find, track, create, and play with the worst possible decks I can to Legend each and every month. From matchup spreads to historical data, I can see where my off-meta decks stand in any meta. Features such as mulligan guides, remaining cards, and turn counters provide information which helps you make the best decision each turn. So if you want to be better than me, go on in the description below, hsreplay.net, give it a free download.
Isn't that right, bud? Hello, good boy. You downloaded FH Replay, didn't you?